Good morning, everyone. Once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm talking about a book that was recommended by a good friend of mine, Jimmy. I'm not gonna tell his last name, but Jimmy recommended this book for me. His mother actually gave him that recommendation for himself. Enjoyed it, and he gave me the recommendation for checking it out, and I'm really thankful for his mother and himself for it. Wasn't really getting too much into research about the book, but I did know that individuals that do go through a time of imprisonment, what's the other word that I'm trying to think of, banish or exile, they have a lot of time to think about things themselves, the past, the future, and during these times, ideas evolve. They themselves evolve. And for this special book, The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hilton, by far one of my favorite books that I have read. Actually, I did listen through this book in Audible. It was a good length, but I flew through this thing within a couple of days, and it was really good. Keeps the attention there. Anthony Ray Hilton is I'll explain a little bit more about this. Is an individual who is African American and born in Montgomery, Alabama. Well, during that time and era, had a strong difficulty being an individual of color, and with this, he went through life to a certain period of time where he was accused of a murder, kidnapping of a killer known as the Cooler Killer, the Freezer Killer, I mean to say. And just because they thought that he was the individual, Anthony Ray Hilton, not having a lot of money, being African American, was and did lose his trial and was sent to death row. And during this time of death row, he evolved as a person, but also lost a lot of time during this journey. And during death row, he kept fighting. Not the fact to not die at death row, but to show everyone he is innocent. And 30 years went by of his life trying to fight the system of judicial in Alabama that was unfair, injustice, to show the world that he was innocent. Many did believe he was innocent. The facts were there. The evidence was there. No one wanted to believe him. And when I mean no one, I mean the judges. They knew he was innocent, but they didn't want him wrong. So with this novel, The Sun Does Shine, I'm going to get into some of the topics that I learned. Probably different, maybe different or similar to what Jimmy has picked up. But I'm going to get to it. Pretty strong book, and I do recommend this for myself and to anyone who wants a good novel to read, to learn a little bit more about hope, and that the sun does shine into a new day, and that every day should be used to its potential, not to I'm going to use potential, but to an agreement of happiness for this person, or of anything beneficial, because it is taken by granted sometimes, life itself. So this first topic is hope, and we're like, hope? Did Anthony have hope? Of course he did. He was on and off on a nice roller coaster through hope, but he never lost that at the end. He knew he was innocent. He had the facts, the evidence. He had a great lawyer at the end to help this. In each stage of these 30 years, new markers were created to provide him hope. Some markers did take hope away from him, but it was never truly lost. During these markers, it reviewed a lot and helped him spark a revolution. Losses of his mother was a downfall of hope, to the point of he almost taking his life away from himself, but it was a self-revolution, as well as noting that it wasn't his time, and his mother in his thoughts told him that. Very powerful right there of that segment. But hope can be many different things for oneself. And I say hope was not just I'm gonna get out of prison, I'm gonna show everyone the world, but it was different hope. It was hope of changing others that were in death row. I think Anthony experienced maybe the teens amount of killing. When I mean killing, I mean some people were innocent, some weren't, but were sent into death row to die. And he sparked some hope for a peaceful life for these people that he encountered in death row, but he had different hope for his best friend Lester, for his mother, hope to have a family. There's different hopes, but some do come to a conclusion into one system of coming out of prison, but hope can never be relied on to one thing. And during his incarceration, I'm going to say, I love this quote: "They may take my life, but they might not take my soul." Soul and hope, I believe, in this segment kind of relate to each other. It's nothing you can really see, but it's in yourself. They were saying that, man, if today is the day I die, that they might take my life, but they're not going to take who I am. They're not going to take who I touched, who matters to me, the people that I matter to. And I thought that was a great portion of knowledge that was sent to the readers. Another thing with hope was Anthony believed that in higher power and a lot of spiritual aspects can highlight your hope. Ask for God, being hateful to God. I think in the beginning of his imprisonment, he did not want to talk to no one. Didn't want to talk to no one. He didn't have that Bible where he used to be so religious before going in jail. He threw that away. But starting to realize his hope and to regain his strength of it, he went back to it, knowing that he did mess up. But he changed. He grew from it. He asked God, and God did assist him, because he knew in the passage of the Bible, I don't know how to properly say it, but it's about innocence and how people he wanted to show that his innocence will be shown, and it did. And that improved a lot in his hope. Helping others can improve your hope. And I say this because of the fact of during one segment, Anthony started to talk to the inmates in death row, and usually the noises in death row were shouting, banging on the bars when someone died, banging on the bars of being mad, being angry, or something, not feeling yourself. But Anthony decided to change that. He started talking to others, not talking about why they're there, talking just about anything, and it sparked a hope for them, the prisoners, but also improved his own hope of coming out. And I think that part of helping others improved his overall humanity, not turning it into, not losing his wits. But at the end, hope can reach your dreams if you are determined with it. You stick with it, and you know what's going to happen, and you are certain that your hope at the end will help you reach what you want. The next aspect I'm going to talk about is how you are raised. So Anthony was raised by one parent. His father left at a young age. Did not want anything to do with him. I don't think maybe seen him a couple times. So his mother raised him. Mother was a hard-working woman. Raised a couple of kids with Ray, but the other ones weren't as with her. Didn't stay long much with their mother, but he did. But a lot of aspects that his mother raised him on, being respectful, being polite, shaping the spiritual aspects to him, helped him into a different realm. And there's a certain passage when he's talking to different inmates, where the one that was next to him, Harry, was a member of the KKK, and he realized, I think Henry or Harry, I think it was Henry, that he himself messed up. But he also realized that that his parents, comparing to Anthony's parent, raised him differently, and he was ashamed that he didn't change some of the aspects that his parents didn't teach him. And it's interesting because when they get visitations on Fridays, Harry's parents came, and Harry introduced him to Anthony, and he's like, yeah, this is Anthony. He's African American, but he's one of my best friends. And it's crazy. That was a great passage during that segment, but it's how you are raised that shapes you through different parts of your life. It becomes fundamentals for yourself. Sometimes, like I said, through this part, your parents can raise you well or not so well. Henry was raised as a person to hate African Americans. He was sent to death row of a lynching of a 15-year-old African teen. And even though it does shape oneself, it could be adjusted. So Harry could have changed. Anthony did change in different aspects from how his mother raised him, but he did stick loyal to most of the traits. And in these realms of how you are raised, getting that knowledge, experience, life, the strengths, the learning process, is something that should be always taught down to your child. And this is a keynote that I wrote down: being a parent should always be your first job. And the aspect of his mother knew that, always took care of Anthony. Even though she was working full time, she had the time to come support him when he was in high school, because he was a great athlete. Always believed in him. And that was her main job, being that parent. She stuck with him to the end until she sadly passed away when he was still incarcerated. But it's how you are raised that shapes this fundamentals. Anthony was polite, got to even know the guards sometimes. He was polite and friendly to the inmates. Was thankful to Lester, his best friend, who was in the same realm of Anthony being raised by one parent, his mother. But at the end, different fundamentals come from who teaches you. So with that also, not be restricted by just your parents raising you, but having mentors, having aunts, uncles, friends. Always learn from that to shape who you are inside. And then we're going to step to number 3 with a good aspect. Imagination can be a useful tool. And I say this because it can also be used as a negative one as well. Daydreaming, thinking and imagining about different aspects of wants and desires can be a negative thing. Once you start saying, I want this, versus I need something, your imagination becomes a negative aspect. But a positive one during your loneliest days, when you're doing things that you don't want to do, you use your imagination to improve your optimistic thinking. Something as boring as clean the dishes can be thought upon doing a magical or inspiring aspect. Another segment that he brought with this was Anthony was in jail when he was in death row. He got the approval of having a book club, and then once after that was done, many of the inmates around his part of the death row were sharing books. People were now talking in death row, sharing knowledge of the books that they're reading. Many of them were going in through their imagination to different aspects of the world from their books that they were reading. So reading does enhance your imagination. It can make you, Ray said he loved women, and he had many imaginations of marrying Halle Berry, Sandra Bullock, I forgot how to pronounce her last name, but he had different aspects of traveling the world, being in the MLB, being a great hitter for the Yankees. I think it was the Yankees or the Red Sox one. I think it was the Yanks. Can't recall now. That's gonna itch my mind. But his imagination helped him through the rough times. And then imagination with this creates goals. Goals can be created through it. You don't want to let it get too much of your goal intentions, but it does shape a little bit of it. And it's a great tool with that aspect. So if you have no goals, do you lack imagination, or do you lack thinking about goals because you just don't want to? But with that, when you let your imagination control your goals, it can create depression if you think about it. Say I want a Lamborghini, that's my imagination. I imagine myself driving that Lambo Aventador through Milwaukee. And if I keep holding on to that dream through my imagination, it can create depression because I'm never going to get it. What if I don't get it? I'm just going to feel down about it. So imagination does play its role, but it gets more evolved and it gets enhanced by the more books and literature that you start using for itself. And I do agree in that, and I love that segment of it. So that's why I included it in this. This aspect comes with also hope and shines in some other ones that I talked about. Friends and family are your biggest support system. I don't believe Anthony, and I think Anthony knows himself, that if I were to ask him, could he have survived without Lester, who was always there? For 30 years, he came every Friday, took his mom and Anthony's mom to see him every Friday. that if he didn't have that support system, could he have done it? Could he have not given up? Could he have made it at 30 years? Who knows? But they will always be there for him, the support system. You should always be thankful for them. It doesn't go many days when you thank your parents for doing a little deed, but they should be thanked. Know that you love them. Take care of them. Lester probably pushed him to newer limits. Through the book, when you were younger, Lester did improve his aspects of improving sports, but then also the aspect that his mother improved him on newer limits of telling the truth. Anthony did steal a car because he wanted a new car. She told him, hey, that's not the right thing to do. You return that. And he did. Felt guilty about it because his conscience was taken over when he told his mother, but it set him to newer limits. And the thing with having a great support system is when you do lose them, it is hard to overcome. A lot of people that it was shown about this book. When Anthony did lose his mother, it did take a toll on him, and it takes a toll on anyone who has a support system, a support provider who's been there for their lives, and they lose them. It's hard to live life thinking what's going to happen without them. But should never be taken upon losing your life for them to see them again, because that's not what they want to happen. And Anthony has a dream about that, and it did inspire more hope, like I said in the first segment, to pass on, because she said, this is my time, but this is not your time to die. And with having a support system, you guys sometimes you won't agree on things. And just don't be afraid to share your thoughts, though, even if they don't agree on them. Being a friend, being a support provider, your job is to tell them your perspective, but the right perspective. And sometimes it takes a debate for you guys to come to a conclusion on what is right, to what to do next. And it's true for anything. And the last is to always take care of them. When Anthony became free, he was invited to go to many new places, to talk to his story, to share it to people who wanted to listen to it. And he always brought Lester to newer places. Lester was there for him, so he was going to be there for Lester. And I'm almost certain that Anthony does take care of all the people that did impact his life, family, friends. Now, this aspect of forgiveness, we could tell. Forgiving. What do you mean forgiving? Well, Anthony explains that and you understand throughout the book, all the people that he encountered through the courts, the trial, the judges, the prosecutor, they were all after him, but he forgave everyone. He forgave the guy who indicated that was him. He forgave a friend. I said that. This is the funny part of coincidence or karma. Anthony was dating two sisters. One of the individuals liked one of the sisters, but Anthony said, forget about it, I'm gonna have both of them. He hated Anthony, and this guy worked for the store that had one of the owners murdered, and he said, yeah, that was Anthony. And even though it wasn't, just because he hated him, if that guy would have forgave Anthony would have never been in jail. If you think about that, forgiving versus unforgiving, but he forgave him. And I thought that was crazy. But It was crazy what happened, but it was also crazy that he forgave him, but he did. Because if you're not forgiving someone, you're creating hatred and anger inside yourself. You're letting that person win you over when that event is over with. And forgiving comes in different aspects of life if you think about it. It can be as simple as going through traffic and someone cutting you off. You're going to hate that, be angry, but don't think about it. Just be like, alright, maybe there's something happening. Give some empathy. And forgiving, if you do know the person, and this is the aspect of what I like, is when you're forgiving someone, talk to them about it. Tell them your thoughts. Forgive them in person rather just in your heart. I think that's one of the toughest things to do, but probably the best feeling from it, of the difficulty. Last but not least, I'm going to conclude with choices and your choices. During death row, you're very limited in choices, you think. But Anthony came to the realization that, no, I still have choices. And he did many choices that determined his hope, himself, helping others, getting this book club, improving the lifeguards, that it improved so many lives and also improved his life. And some choices may play a negative part in life, in other people's lives, but choices is what make you you. And you yourself are the only person that can take in charge of your choices. And you're gonna say, what about peer pressure? What about it? It's tough to say no, but it's also an option to, yeah, I'm gonna listen to what my peers say, but you have the ultimate choice of doing what they say. And that's a hard thing to overcome and master. And I'm going to leave with this part that I wrote. Your choices will shape your legacy. So all the choices, if you want to say in this example of Anthony, from being alive, going to death row, coming out, all his choices play out as part of his legacy. And it does for yourself. You will have the ultimate choice to get out of bed and do something. From that simple thing, to do your chores, to say thankful to your parents, to going on time to work, that is all on you. And we're living in a realm where I believe this highlights in blaming others. And a lot of people do blame others for their choices. But at the end, it is yourself who will become shaped by your choices, no one else. And it takes a long time to see it, but it does show. So overall, at the end, those are I wrote 6 topics for this one, and incredible much of information, great read, knowledge was shared upon through Anthony. And it's funny too, because during his incarceration, death row, he's like, I think I want to create a book. And it's going to sound funny, but I do. From his time in jail, when he learns it, he does. And that's crazy. That imagination, like a key topic, inspired hope. He executed it, and at the end, it is out there, and he shared his memories, hoping to spark other people's lives, sharing knowledge, sharing this experience himself. And I thought that was powerful, to be honest. So I highly recommend you guys check out The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hilton. Great piece of literature. Hope you guys do check it out. Let me hear what you guys think. Don't be afraid to share, and let me hear your suggestions. This book was recommended to me, and I hope I get others. Just share. Thank you for tuning in, and doses.